Hey guys, I don't think there's anyone here yet, but I don't know what's going on. Let's see if anyone picks up. If not, I go home early. And we're super blurry. Yeah, for some reason the my live stream wouldn't work, so I had to do something else. I said third-party software. So I'm not sure what to do. So how we doing, guys? Okay. I'll have to figure out why it didn't work so well last time, but we shall see. Anybody have any questions? Bueller, anyone? I don't feel the love anymore. I should have advertised. I wanted to actually see if anyone could get notification on this. It says I have 2 viewers. I bet you I'm one of them. Okay. So there's a couple. I mean, if you mean a vendor, yeah. If it's for the SIE, I'm actually okay with. SDC is a good website. I think they have good apps. Notman's pretty strong. The only thing about Notman is that they kind of started writing their own book. They used to use Kaplan, and they wrote their own book. And the thing is, you never really want to do the first thing of anything. So you kind of stay away from that. But let's see. So training consultants is pretty okay. It's a good supplement. For the SIE, you have a lot more room to make mistakes. With the top off, you have to be pretty dead on. Right. Kaplan, their questions look nothing like it. I think the closest might be training consultants or STC. They're a little closer. But, I mean, they're pretty hard about keeping the vendors from being too close. But that being said, the one thing about the Kaplan is that their questions are too mathy and too detailed. And as I try to explain to everyone, this isn't really a detail test. It's not like little tiny details about everything. You have to get the big picture. And Kaplan they do the gotcha questions like, oh, you forgot that, when we do convertible bonds, that after they announce the call, the stock's going to rise to this price. And that's not really where they're going. The question's more about, what would you do? The stock's trading at 104. It's convertible at this price. What do you do? It's more about that. They're trying to trick you. STC's okay. Training consultants, if you've already used another website like SDC or Kaplan, training consultants is pretty strong. Okay, Austin, and you can see only Kaplan is the only one that allows you to buy questions. They used SDC training consultants, Past Perfect, used to let you just buy questions, and now they don't. Okay. Very true. So Austin, how much time should you spend in retirement for this exam? Not a ton. You got to know the basics: IRAs, 401ks. Know the basics of each thing. You don't have to know the little details, even on the top off. But they will ask questions on the top off as far as retirement goes. But with the SIE, there's going to be a couple, but there's a lot of things they got to cover, and retirement plans isn't the big ones. Yeah, Past Perfect is known for giving way too much information, like way too much. It's they love math, and they seem to try to work their way into just trying to trick you on everything, more so than Kaplan. I know I said Kaplan knows, but Past Perfect takes it to a new level. Like they'll ask you how to do yield to maturity sometimes, which you will never ever have to do. So Past Perfect will get you to pass, but it's not the best way to go. STC, Kaplan's, oh, the material in Kaplan's okay, just the questions don't look like the exam. Training consultants is okay. Notman it has a lot of extra material. Like Notman, what they do is they give you supplements. Like they have a thing called class summary, which is like little one-offs. Like, oh, don't forget, there's no such thing as accrued dividends. So Notman does a good job with that. STC has crunch time facts, which is similar to just bullet points on like little topics you should probably know. Okay, so Anna, so you missed it by 6, okay? Okay. So 2 things. Anna, I'm going to handle Anna, then Austin. So Anna, I think what you should do, since you missed it Friday, is just read the book straight through. If you can get a copy of an STC book, then read it and work on chapter 14 through 18. Let me tell you right now what those chapters are, so that if you can find them in your Kaplan book. Where am I? Of course, it doesn't show up right away. While I'm looking, Austin, you take the test Saturday. I think you need to focus on customer accounts and regs. That's where people get hammered. They really do. So let's see. I'm going to tell you right now what chapters these things are. So the big chapters at the end that I am big on is, drum roll please, because it takes me a while to scroll. Okay, so it's going to be economic factors like econ. Oh, STC, Securities Trading Corporation. So the chapters that I'm worried about here are and see if you can find some version of them in yours. Customer accounts, compliance, like opening a new account, anti-money laundering, FinCEN, red flags, correspondence, retail versus institutional, the telemarketing rules, books and records, nothing big. Prohibited activities like manipulations, Reg M, front running, trading ahead, free riding, all these things. These are all the chapters that are all over the test. So again, it's going to be customer accounts, and that includes 529s, covered L's, discretion versus margin and options. Not super deep on it, but it's definitely there. Customer account restrictions like individual versus joint. Like you have to know the difference between an individual account and a joint. Like a joint tenants in common, remember that. Joint tenants in common is 2 people, and when one dies, it goes down to their estate. So tenants in common, their assets go to their people. So say me and you have an account, I have a heart attack and I die, my part of my account will go to my estate. You will have your money untouched. A joint with rights of survivorship, I die, you get my money. So, or if you die, I get your money. That's what rights of survivorship is. Both accounts, anyone can place orders, but tenants in common drops down. Rights of survivorship goes to the other party. Also, any money that comes out, you have to warn them that the account will be written in, the check will be written in both people's names. Okay. I just have to do that one. I always get big on that. So customer accounts, compliance, prohibited activities like market rumors, front running, trading ahead, excessive trading, which is called churning, marking the close, marking the open, some like time of trade, like do you have to check timestamp an order? New issues like can you buy? You work for a broker dealer, you cannot buy an IPOs, common stock IPOs. Maybe a little bit on the U4, U5. Then SRO requirements. That's like FINRA, like what associated people are, what non-registered can. So principal supervision of registered representatives, registration of U4, U5 fingerprinting, and then employee contact, like the U4, the U5 again. I mean, I'm going to say that a million times, but they're in different chapters. What you can do outside, like so, if you want to have an outside job, you have to notify your employer. If it's financial, you have to get permission. If you want to do private securities transactions, which means basically do trades as a registered rep off the books and records of the broker-dealer, okay? Now, the other part is you also have, if you have an outside account, like an outside broker-dealer account, like say you're at Merrill Lynch, you're going to work over at, you want to do an account at TD. You have to get permission from your firm first. Then you can open the account. A lot of times people open the account, then they get permission. They're not really going to be upset about it, but it is what it is. Okay. The next part is anyone that you have control over them or their account, you have to disclose also and get permission. The only exception is if it's a mutual fund account. You just have to disclose it. You don't need permission. Okay. So Kyle, you answered about pay to play. The whole point here is God forbid a politician would be corrupt. God forbid. So what they do is they have rules to prevent people who work for municipal broker-dealers from bribing, basically bribing politicians to give them underwriting business. So say you work for Merrill Lynch, you want to do some underwriting, or you want to get some sort of business from them. I go in, I'm in New York City, and I want to give money to de Blasio. I'll leave that alone. So let's say I want to give money to his election campaign. They have a limit on $250 per election. So if I want to donate to his campaign, I can give him $250 per election. Now, and I'm married, so my wife could technically give $250 also. Where they get you is that they'll say, oh, you have a joint account, and only one person signed it. If that's true, then the entire check is coming out of my, basically counts toward my contribution limit. So if I write a check for $400 and it's from a joint account, it's not $200 from me and my wife, it's $400 from me. But if I get my wife to sign it, then it's $200 each. Does that make sense? I hope so. Now, what happens if I give too much? If I give more than $250, then I can no longer put I cannot do their underwriting business for 2 years, nor can my firm. And if I leave and go to another firm, that new firm can't do it for that same 2 years. So they're saying if you give somebody too much money, you're bribing them, so you can no longer do underwriting business for that issuer for 2 years. The other part of the rule is, now I live in New Jersey. If I did give $50 to de Blasio, I don't live there, I can't vote for him. I'm out. I'm out for 2 years. It's basically you can give a donation to someone that you can vote for. So I'm in New Jersey. I could give money to the mayor of my town and all that. I can give it to the governor. I can give it to the senators. I can give it to the House of Representatives of New Jersey. I can give it to the president because I can vote. They don't do underwriting business. But that's the point. I cannot give it to Cuomo of New York or de Blasio or AOC or anybody in New York City because I can't vote there. That's the way that goes. And if I do, then I'm out for 2 years. That help? I hope it does. I hope it cleared it up a little bit. Okay. There's other rules too. So like if I work for a muni securities, I'm an MFP. And I tell a mutual fund, listen, do me a favor. If you give me business, I will find clients to invest in your mutual fund. That you can't do either. They'll say that. They'll say basically getting mutual fund business based on sales of the mutual fund. Because I can charge commissions. A mutual fund gives me orders, I can charge commissions. Okay, Austin, how much should you spend on basic tax rules? You need to know cost basis. You need to know proceeds. It's heavier on the exam, okay? Don't spend a crap load of time on it. You got to understand cost basis, proceeds. What I tell all my students, everything is ordinary income. That's the first one. There are only 3 things that are not ordinary income. 1, capital gains, which is a buy and a sell. Buy at 50, sell at 60. That $10 is my gain. That's not ordinary income. An option expiration is a capital gain. And if a mutual fund distributes a capital gains distribution, that's capital gains. Don't go crazy on this test. You will absolutely need it on the next exam. Absolutely. So, okay, somebody said they're taking the test Saturday. Make sure you focus on customer accounts and keep reading. I think that works. So how are we on stock splits? I'm going to ask you guys a question. Say I own 100 shares at 50 and I get a 3-for-2 stock split. What's the case? What do I have now? So I have 100 shares at 50 and I have a 3-for-2 stock split. What is my after effect? Drum roll, please. So I have 100 shares at 50. So what I'm going to do is I know, let's see, 3-for-2. 3-for-2 stock split. I know that I'm going to get 3 shares for every 2 I own. Boom. Let's see if the price is right. I didn't do the math. Where is my calculator? So I would do, so what happens is if I get 3-for-2, that means I'm getting 3 shares for every 2 I own. So the way I do it, I always do, I divide the first number by the second. So 3 divided by 2, that would give me 1.5. Then I multiply that times the shares, which gives me 150. Now let's see. So 50 divided by 1.5 is 33.33. So then I divide by the same number. So I do 100 shares at 50. I get 3 divided by 2. That gives me 1.5. I do 100 times 1.5. That gives me 150. I then do 50 divided by 1.5, which gives me 33. 33 actually. The other way to do it is, and it's a good way to understand the concept. If I own 100 shares at 50, that's worth $5,000. That will not change. It will always be $5,000. There's a zero-sum game. So what's going to happen is I have 150 shares now, but it's still worth $5,000. So if I do 5,000 divided by 150, I get 3333. It's the same number. Either way works. They all work the same. Okay, fair enough. How did you current yield? Anyone know? Anyone? So if I gave you, if you had a stock trading at $50 a share and it was a $2 quarterly dividend, yes, $2 quarterly dividend, what would my current yield be? And Austin, give it a second. I think you got it. I want to see if somebody else can try to get it. Or nobody's going to answer because you're too shy. So I have a $2 dividend. I know that they pay dividends quarterly, so it's going to be 2 times 4. So it's going to be $8. That's my annual income over 50. So $8 over 50, ballparking it, which you should never do. It might be, I don't know. Let's find out what it is. I keep it in calendar because it really looks like that. So 8 divided by 50 is going to be, look at that, 16%. So if I get a $2 dividend and I have a $50 stock, that's a 16% dividend. I think that works. Okay. I'm going to try to promote this more next time. But anybody else have other questions? The one thing about doing this, I realize I need to shave and lose about 800 pounds. Anybody, any more questions? I could spend 8 hours doing that. So understand, that I can't do because that takes too long. But understand, you need to know what Reg T is for margin. You need to read the regulations. It's the way to do it. There's a million of them. Like Active 33. What's the Active 33 for? Primary markets. That covers IPOs and all that, and they have to register. They register with under the Active 33 with an S1. That's a 20-day review. And then after that, it's effective. The SEC declares it effective. And there are ways around it. Maybe you can do a Regulation A, which is a small issuer. Anything under 5 million, the SEC doesn't actually care about because it's too small. I could use it 5 million, but they don't care. So Reg A is an exemption because it means it's a small issuer. Reg D is private placement. Think D for direct. That means the issuer is selling directly to investors, not using a broker dealer. Maybe they do, but they're really not registering it. And anyone who buys under Reg D, private placement, has to be accredited. Look up accredited. Just remember 1, 2, 3, 1 million, 200, or 300,000. They either have $1 million net worth, 200 grand salary, or if they're married, 300 grand salary. That's accredited. If you want to buy in a Reg D, it's accredited. There's a Rule 147, I offer in one state. These are all exemptions to the Act of 33. If I offer a Rule 147, that means I'm only offering one state, which means I don't have to register with the SEC because states trump federal when it's just in one state. Hence, what can you do in 35 states that is against federal law? You can smoke weed because it's a federal violation, but the states allow you to do it as long as you stay in your state. So Act of 33 requires securities be registered with the SEC before you sell them to the public. The exemptions are Reg A if it's small, Reg D if it's a private placement, and Rule 147 if it's all issued to all investors in one state. There's some other rules with this. Now, if you buy on Reg A or Reg D, you have to hold it for 6 months fully paid, which means you can't sell it to some poor unsuspecting grandma. After 6 months, do whatever you want, you can sell. During the 6 months, if you actually do need to sell it, you can sell it to a certain type of person called a QIB. A QIB is a QIB, Qualified Institutional Buyer. That's a massive money manager or something. They run at least 100 million. So what happens is they are big. And if you can rip them off, have at it. No, you really can't rip them off. But hopefully they're sophisticated enough to understand the risk and reward. I mean, that's the whole point of it. FINRA is not about protecting the big money managers. I mean, they're not going to let you steal from them, but they don't need to protect them. So selling during the first 6 months of the holding period, you can use the exemption called 144A. 144A lets you sell to QIBs. So I buy in a Reg D today. 3 months from now, I realize I made a mistake. I can't sell it to grandma, but I can sell it to a QIB. I can sell it to a qualified institutional buyer, big boys. Okay, Act of 34, I'm going to stop after that. Act of 34 is for the secondary market. Act of 34 is for the secondary market. It's all about manipulation and stuff like that. So I tell everyone, okay, maybe I'll do that one, Kyle, and then I'll end. So Act of 34 has quite a few things, but I use an acronym to help you out. And a lot of people use it. I use what they call MISPERMs to remember. MISPERMs. M is manipulation. That all manipulation rules. I is insiders. It defined who the insiders were. The S is SEC. They created the SEC. The second S, short sales. They made short sale rules. You have to get a borrow. If you want to sell stock short, and I've covered that in a previous one, if you want to sell stock short, and I can't speak, sell stock short, you have to get a borrow first. The P, proxy rules. That means you can vote by mail. E, the exchanges. All the exchanges had to register with the SEC. This is what the Act of 34 required. R, reports. Like all issuers had to do public reports. 10Ks are annual, audited. 10Q are quarterly, not audited. And then 8Ks for special things. And then the M, the second M is margin. Reg T, we know that. That's your next exam, but understand margin is run by the Federal Reserve. But that was given to the Federal Reserve by the Act of 34. And then the last S is stabilization. So if we bring a stock public, that's 33. Once it's trading and out there, we are the underwriter are allowed to buy it to keep it there. We're allowed to buy it to keep it at a certain price. It's actually manipulation, but it's allowed for a certain amount of days. Only one guy can do it, and it's usually the lead underwriter. Last question. I'll do this. What is the big difference between limit orders and stop limits? Okay, a limit order is I say I want to buy 100 shares at 50. Okay, I want 100 shares at 50. So I buy 100. I say I'm willing to buy 100 shares at 50. I am not willing to pay higher than that. I place that below the market. Like if the stock's trading at 60, I'll say I'm willing to buy it at 58 or 55. I will not pay higher than that. Yes, I can change my mind, but right now I will not pay higher than that. So I buy 100 shares at 50. Boom. If it trades at 51 or 50.01, don't care. I'm not paying higher than that. That's a limit order. Or a sell limit. I want to sell stock at 51. I will sell it at 51, but no lower. Make sense? I'm okay with it. Now, let's talk about stops first. That's really where the test is. A buy stop or a sell stop. Say you buy stock at 20 and it's rising to 50. You're now, you're like, oh, I'm happy. I'm making 30 bucks. But you're going on vacation. You're going on a long vacation and your mom goes, look, honey, no cell phones, no nothing, no computers. You really got to unplug. You're like, oh my God, I could lose my money. So you call your broker and say, listen, really, you should buy a put, but we're not going to go there. What you should do is place a sell stop. Sell 100 shares at 45 stop. Stock's at 50. You bought it at 20, so you're looking at a heavy profit. But sell 100 shares at 45 stop. As long as it's above 45, nobody even knows it's there. Once it trades down to 45, it's going to trigger, which means it turns on, then boom, it sells at the next price, no matter where it is, whether it's a penny or $500. It absolutely trades on the next trade. That's where you're selling it. So you're hopefully getting it out of it cheaper. It doesn't really protect you. But remember, you place a 45 stop, it trades at 45, it triggers, and then sells on the next trade no matter what. It becomes a market order. So your question about a stop limit is, same thing. You say sell 100 shares at 45 stop limit. As long as it's above 45, nobody cares. It trades at 45, it triggers, and then it'll sell it as long as it's at 45 or higher. It won't sell below 45. That's a stop limit. So a limit order is I want to sell at a price, and it's out there all the time, and I place it above the market. A stop limit, you place it below the market, and it has to trade at that price first, and then you sell it at that price. If you can. You're not guaranteed. You actually may not be able to sell your stock, because say it goes 46, 45 trigger, then the next trade is 44, you're not selling it, 43, 42, 40, 30, 10, 0, you don't sell anything. But if you did a sell stop up here, it trades at 45 trigger, and it'll say the next trade's 44, that's where you sell it. Next trade's at 48, you sell it. Next trade's a penny, you sell it. Whatever the next trade is. Hope that helped, Kyle. Okay. I think it's a lighter day. I wanted to really see what would happen is if I didn't put it out there and tell people. So now I know I probably need to tell people, so I want to get on this. Again, I'm going to try to do this every Wednesday. I am taking my son down to see college. I should be back on Wednesday. And if not, I'll do Thursday, but I'll let everyone know if you guys haven't taken it. Austin, you're taking it Saturday, so I can't really help you after that. But look, if you guys need help, go on my website and you can hire me, whatever. I'm not pushing it. I'm pretty busy anyway. Good luck, guys. Keep reading. Read the customer accounts. If you have STC, read the last 4 chapters, 14 through 18, which is customer accounts. I close it up already. I probably said it 3 or 4 times, but let's see. Where are we? So it's going to be, I want you to make sure you cover. Where are we? Okay. Opening accounts, customer accounts. Compliance, which is it was not really suitability, but KYC. New account docs. Privacy. Communications between retail, institutional correspondence. Remember, don't go crazy deep on it. Prohibited activities, trading ahead, front running, stuff like that. And then the SRO requirements for associated persons. U4s, U5s, fingerprinting, blue skies, continuing ed. Like you need to do continuing ed every year. Or if it's based on FINRA one, it's on your 2nd anniversary, and then every 3 years after that. Employee conduct, reportable events. If you have a felony, you can't work here in the last 10 years. Remember, Always remember on the felony stuff and crimes, it's convicted, not charged. Okay. Personal activities, and then economics, like the business cycles, tools of the Fed. Here's in tool. The tools of the Fed. There are 4 tools of the Fed. I'm not going heavy into it, but I'll tell you. DORM, where you stayed in college. Dorm. Discount rate, they do. Open market ops, reserve requirement, and margin. Those are the 4 tools of the Fed. Discount, open market ops, reserve requirement, and margin. Those are the 6. I will see. I'm going to head out of here. I am going to see if I can post it again, and that's great. Anyone have comments, please leave comments. And if you like it, like I said, I have a big ego, so please like and subscribe. I will see you guys next Wednesday, as long as I'm back from college. I'll talk to you guys later. Bye-bye.